Hello everybody, it's me, Onion Creature. I've got a unique video game that I'm going to be discussing today, that being The Hobbit, the prelude to the Lord of the Rings on Nintendo GameCube. Lead the quest that started it all. Long ago, the lonely mountain trembled as the dragon Smaug destroyed the dwarf kingdom in fire and rage. When the dwarves set out to reclaim their stolen treasure hoard, I, Gandalf the Wizard, sent with them the most unlikely of heroes, Bilbo Baggins of the Shire. But even I could not foresee how this choice would rule the fate of Middle-earth. thehobbit.sierra.com. So, last year I talked about the Tales of the Shire video game, which is a Stardew-like set in Hobbiton. I think that did sort of reignite my interest in looking at some of these Middle-earth video games, and I had heard that this was pretty solid. I had a teacher in middle school who said it was pretty cool. This has been on a mental list for some time to check out. I have read the books so many times. I also really love the Peter Jackson films. I've got the extended edition on Blu-ray, which is great. I have several copies of this book. I've got a little collection. I got this unopened Pez dispenser, these empty Hobbit brewskis, and another one of my achievements is playing through the entirety of Tales of the Shire before the Switch 2 update, which made it look like a real game. Before then, it looked like not that. What I find interesting about this game is, even though it was released in the same time frame as the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy, it did not take any direct visual inspiration from it. The adaptation that I feel it's the closest to visually would probably be the Rankin Bass Hobbit film, which is an animated film from the 70s, TV movie, which is a weird time. It's got some good music. Some of the animation is a bit rough. Not one I go back to too frequently, but it's fun.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
Because it's separate from the movies, it has its own distinct interpretations of the characters and the universe, even though obviously this game was meant to cash in on the Lord of the Rings hype of the early 2000s. They even slapped the prelude of the Lord of the Rings to the subtitle. So yeah, let's get into the game itself. So essentially this is a good, not great Zelda-like. It focuses on combat and stealth, with a little bit of platforming sprinkled throughout. There are sometimes, but not very frequently, side quests that you can engage with. What I found very interesting was that much of the book's content has been cut for this game. They're really barreling through it. And the story itself has been streamlined by quite a bit. That I did expect, but I did not anticipate how much of the story would be straight up skipped. It adds random gameplay elements and characters not from the book, some of which are inspired by Tolkien and some are not.
I am Corwin, huntsman from Laketown. You could burn through those webs if you had some oil.
One of the standout gameplay elements is this long jump move. It's a bit like the Mario 64 long jump, but significantly worse, since you can only use it when you have your stick equipped. It does, however, make a very satisfying ka-thunk noise. One thing the game gets a bit out of control with is this lock-picking mini-game. I think I've played this hundreds of times now. These are spammed throughout all of the levels, and it's a bit excessive. We now enter the chapter overview portion of the video. We have a very strange start to the game, one that I was not expecting. You get a bit of a recap, and then you jump into a dream sequence, which foreshadows the ending of the game, being the Battle of the Five Armies. Dream World? Are we in the... what?
Well, Baggins, you've dreamt your way into this. You will have to dream your way out.
This is weird. You're given infinite health, and it's essentially just an excuse, I guess, to put in some action at the beginning, which is not present in the book. That was a bit of a taste that we're not looking at a one-to-one adaptation here, which I was not really expecting, but even still, it did veer off more than I anticipated. After a brief recap of an unexpected party, God, the art is a little, you are let loose in Bag End and can run around in the Shire. This was a pretty fun starting chapter. I like video game interpretations of the Shire. This one is a bit low fidelity, but still very charming. And this section gives you quite a few different side quests that you can do. They are not really required, but some of them are kind of fun. You get to talk to various different Hobbit characters.
I could fix it, but I'll need my hammer and nails.
One of the things I noticed in this chapter is the sign in front of the Green Dragon Inn. looks exactly like the Lego dragon piece. Oh my god, that is literally just the Lego dragon. What? What a discovery. Flying a little close to the sun there. That's really weird. I have no explanation for that. And we get some introductions to the stealth mechanics. There's a hedge maze, and if you get caught by the Hobbit in it, you get talked to until you are bored to death. That is literally what happens. And you can also steal some eggs from chickens while avoiding creaky floorboards. So I was having a good time, looking forward to continuing the journey. And so I finished the level and was ready for roast mutton, which is of course the next chapter. This is where I ran into a pretty major roadblock in that the disc crashed. Oh! Repeatedly. Okay, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. I was a bit devastated by this. Tried different memory cards. Nothing really worked. So I was like, okay, we're going with a non-physical version of the game. But then I changed my mind at the last minute and just ordered another disc. So we got 2 discs here. This one does not work except for the first level. This one does. I had a few issues with that disc as well, but we'll get to it later. Roast Mutton is our first introduction to the stealth mechanics of The Hobbit on GameCube. I gotta be honest, it did not make a great first impression. It was pretty frustrating. It was not that fun and far too easy to get caught. One of the weird things is the wallet that Bilbo is trying to steal from the trolls comes to life. There we go. Yeah! What the f***? Why is it alive? It's a sentient being. Ew! What is this? Speaking of baffling narrative choices, the way the game is structured, the trolls actually die off screen. I guess we're sparing the animators the effort of animating that. Interestingly, there is an added section after the trolls have been turned to stone, and this is a cave level. You go through some bioluminescent environments, find a new non-canon elf who needs help with a potion or something, and there's an added enemy, which is this giant armadillo boss. There's so much original content in this game, it's shocking. Finally, you finish the level and grab the sting, which is great. Now we have a sword in addition to a walking stick.
I know. I will give you a name, and I shall call you Sting.
So we totally just skip through Rivendell. Elrond gets a name drop, and we are out of there. Just these illustrated cutscenes. It's really a shame. I was hoping to be able to explore Rivendell, but it was not to be. We then go straight into Overhill and Underhill. Bilbo needs to find some firewood for the dwarves. So just another weird sidetrack plot point that they have injected into this game to give you something to do. You have to explore some dwarven ruins, and then eventually you get your firewood. This is another point of contention here for me. So this is where the goblins of the Misty Mountains show up. You fight a few of them, and then you are put into one of the cutscenes. And God, I'm sad, man. We don't get any Goblin King in this game. It's pretty tragic. He does get name dropped by an NPC later.
Another sacrifice to the Goblin King!
But does not appear himself in the flesh, which is a damn shame. The Goblin King is a standout character, one of my favorites, especially in the Peter Jackson film. Love that movie's interpretation of him. Oh, we skipped the Goblin King. Damn. That's tragic.
That'll do it.
I love the Goblin King, man. What a shame. Riddles in the Dark is pretty strange in that much of it does not take place in the dark, and there are no riddles. This is a big cave level. You're in the goblin tunnels. It's a bit more like the Peter Jackson film interpretation, where it's this wide open cavern environment with all these mechanical objects and instruments made by the goblins that are all cobbled together. There's a really lengthy, overly lengthy in fact, minecart section, and you have to help this dwarf. Who's not one of your dwarves, he's just a dwarf. Balfour. If you freaking say so. And then you have to bribe this goblin.
Fix the broken dwarf lift and you can steal the warp stone from Crugby.
But then he betrays you after you bribe him, so you have to kill him. The point I'm getting to is the Gollum content in this chapter is very limited, which is sad. We do get a pre-rendered cutscene at the end of the level where you do get to see Gollum. You get a little bit of that interaction.
My precious.
Gotta say, the pre-rendered cutscenes are a little bit scary. Got that very early CGI look to it. It's not terrible, but the characters are, you know.
Hey, Goblin! You're just a filthy spawn of an elf! Shut up!
And next we have what is probably the biggest skip in the game. We go from Riddles in the Dark, which they don't really adapt other than the cutscene, to Out of the Frying Pan into the Fire, where the dwarves are chased up into trees, and then the trees are set on fire, and then the eagles show up. So we do get a nice pre-rendered cutscene of that, but then they skip all of Queer Lodgings with Beorn the Bear. Beorn the Bear does not get so much as a freaking mention. That made me sad. I was very shocked by that.
What? We skipped Beorn!
He showed them a trail.
It then skips straight into Mirkwood. It just starts and you're in the thick of it.
Skip the Goblin King, skip Beorn. Jeez.
So this is the first chapter in which Bilbo has the ring, and you can use it to sneak around enemies. Some enemies can see you, and that's indicated to you by a little red ring around Bilbo. It's not super useful in this chapter since the spiders can pretty easily see you. The poison spiders in particular were really horrible. They poison you, and you have to use one of your antidote potions to heal yourself. So it really does burn through your supplies fighting those green little spiders. Not a fan. The big spiders in comparison are a trifle, very easy to get through.
The gameplay acts a little weird when you're locked on. You're like sort of walking slowly towards enemies. It's very strange.
And there is a weird necromancer zombie boss. The necromancer, who we later learn is Sauron, I guess has summoned some zombies that are hanging out in Mirkwood in this game's version of Middle-earth, and you fight a big one. And he's a bit of a tough boss. I did figure out that there are respawning mushrooms which heal you in this chapter, so that was cool. I got a bit of a nitpick with the spider combat here. In the book, Bilbo throws stones at the spiders while wearing the ring, and they're like, hey, what the hell's going on? Who's doing that? In the game, however, you cannot throw stones while you have the ring on. It takes the ring off whenever you throw stones. That is non-canon, folks. You then get 3 spider bosses. You fight them in succession.
She will be avenged!
Speaking of rocks, there is a weird mechanic where you can get exploding fire or ice rocks for a limited time. It can be useful, but I find the close range combat to be more enjoyable and easy, so I stuck with that mainly.
This is a very silly part of the game.
Barrels Out of Bond is our first real stealth mission with the ring. I found it far more enjoyable than the roast Mutton troll mission. There's a meter on the ring, so you can only use it for a limited time, but it does recharge immediately after you take it off. This was where I had my second technical scare of the Hobbit on Gamecube.
Well, we are in the belly of the beast, as it were. No way, my old enemy.
The game gave me that same crash screen at a save point in the Wood Elf realm. So fortunately this did seem to be just a one-time thing, as after that crash I did not get any other save point crashes. I did have a few audio issues in this chapter where dialogue or music was getting cut off.
Oh lord. You guys hear that too?
And the game did crash a couple times.
Our music is... No!
It worked out. It was frightening, but it did resolve itself eventually. We then have another change from the book. In the book, the elves get drunk on wine. However, I guess they didn't want alcohol in the video game, so we make a potion to poison them instead, which I feel is probably morally worse. Makes Bilbo a little more evil, technically, but I guess we do have the ESRB to worry about. You got a fun level here exploring Lake Town. You do some non-canon missions for Bard the Bowman, who needs some help finding some smugglers, who turns out are in league with goblins.
You have the Black Arrow.
Yes.
They also allude to the corruption of the Master of Lake Town, which is an element that was kind of in the books, but more thoroughly expanded on in the movies. You do these little quests for Bard the Bowman.
Meet me at the cider house, Bilbo. I may have something else for you to do.
You just got a billion chores for poor Bilbo.
The finale of the chapter is sneaking into a warehouse to retrieve Bard's Black Arrow, which will of course be important later.
The Black Arrow. You stole the Black Arrow. Yes.
After Lake Town, we pack up and are whisked through the desolation of Smaug in a illustrated cutscene. Like the book, Bilbo has to sneak in and steal a cup from Smaug. There's a fun mechanic with a Smaug detection meter, and you gotta make sure it doesn't go all the way to the top, or Bilbo will be incinerated. It's a fairly good interpretation of the scene, and I was pretty satisfied with it.
Thieves! Fire! Murder!
You then go back into the treasure hoard and have to escape from a Smaug. You do this by dodging fire, and it's a pretty fun climactic scene. I like this version of Smaug.
Barrel Rider.
Smaug then flies off after Bilbo mentions the term Barrel Rider to go destroy Lake Town. Bilbo and the dwarves are now inside Erebor, and they give you various quests to complete.
Ruby down there that belonged to my father, Ronnie.
I accidentally skipped this by doing the main quest first. Oops. After you have raised the water level to create a bridge, the chapter ends. You get a nice cutscene of Smaug being killed by Bard the Bowman.
Probably the best chapter in the game, that last one, just in terms of the Smaug segment.
The Gathering of the Clouds. This is the longest chapter in the game, and in it you explore Erebor. It's a little drawn out, but it's fun. The main goal here is to find the Arkenstone for Thorin, and you gotta go through a lot of steps to get there. You gotta get the aqueducts working to turn on the forge, and then you gotta find some molds to mold keys to move the throne, to get another mold, to mold another key, to open the door to the Arkenstone. But before you do that, you have to find a chain.
Ah, the chain.
And put the chain in the room with the door and pull on that chain and 3 other chains, and then the door opens. So there's a lot to it. There's also spiders that show up in the hallways just to bug you. They're annoying.
The iconic Erebor spiders.
The chapter's pacing is messed up a bit by these gondolas, and they are just a bit too slow. Just take a little too long to get you where you want to get. And finally, we have our fun climax of the game. It's a callback to the cold open we got. This time you have all your power-ups and your items, and you have a health bar, so you can actually die. And in the previous chapters in the game, there's a limited amount of courage points you can collect. Courage points are what allow you to upgrade your health, and in this chapter you get unlimited courage points from killing enemies, so you can basically upgrade your health as much as you want here if you so choose. You also do have the option to sneak past enemies with the ring if you want. Narratively, what we got going on here is Bilbo being sent to do various tasks by the participants in the Battle of the Five Armies. So you complete a couple of these tasks.
I've got you, Bilbo. Come on through.
Great work, Bilbo.
Yup.
Gandalf sent me to find Bjorn.
Yeah, that's right, he is in the game. Major plot twist, I was not expecting this. And the finale of the game is assisting Beorn in defeating Bolg. These goblin mages are holding him down with nefarious spells, so Bilbo takes him out in this comical Rube Goldbergian sequence of events. It's pretty goofy and over the top, certainly not in the book, but a fun way to end the game. So Beorn does then defeat Bolg, and the game wraps up.
That is the Hobbit on GameCube. Wow, what a Hobbit on GameCube it was.
What did Onion Creature think of The Hobbit on GameCube? Well, I liked it. I think it's okay. And, you know, I was probably hoping for a little more than that, but I do think this is in line with what you would expect from a licensed game of the era. One of the more solid ones. It's certainly not unplayable. It has a few highlights. It is the kind of thing where if you're really into the source material, you will get more out of it than if you're just playing it casually because you wanted a fun game. It's pretty simplistic, and it does have lots of pacing issues. The levels are very inconsistent. Some of them are pretty short, possibly too short. Some of them are definitely too long. The mixture of stealth, combat, puzzle solving, and exploration doesn't feel all that well thought out. The use of side quests is very weird. The first chapter set up my expectations that, oh, we'd have tons of side quests to do in every chapter, but no, that's really not the case. There's only a couple other side quests in the entire game, and most of those are the ones the dwarves give you in Erebor.
Right.
I really enjoy these strange adaptations that exist in worlds not heavily influenced by the Peter Jackson films. It's just kind of nice to get one that's more cartoony, more of its own thing. There were not that many major issues apart from the technical ones, which you might not experience were you to play the game. It's a decent time. I'm glad I went through it and can say I have experienced this. Not one I'm really eager to return to, particularly like Tales of the Shire. I don't really mind a B-tier effort Lord of the Rings game. I think that can be a lot of fun as well, even when it's not the best thing on its respective system. I do still enjoy checking these kinds of things out. I think it's pretty fondly remembered. Most discussion I see of this online seems to be positive, which I think is warranted. It's a solid effort and does a decent job of adapting the Tolkien original into video game format and giving it its own flavor as well. Also, shout out to the voice acting in it.
The bridge is out.
Hope you enjoyed delving into this game with me, and I'll see you again very soon.
He asked Bilbo for forgiveness. In his heart, he wished he had been more like the Hobbit, valuing food and cheer above hoarded gold.